Hello and welcome to the virtual summit. OkayCon 2020 is what I'm calling it. I'm here today with a beloved guest of We Turned Out Okay. She's been on twice, and I guess this will actually be your third returning champion time. You've got a copy of your book back there, and I've got a copy of it here too. Visual is so much fun because we get to show things off. Everybody, welcome Audrey Monke back to the podcast and to our virtual summit. Welcome, Audrey. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so great to be with you again, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're first of all, you're an author, so you've written this incredible book. I have actually said repeatedly that this is probably the most optimistic, one of the most valuable parenting books that I've literally ever read. And that was why I knew I wanted to bring you in on this summit because I think we're all needing that optimism now. And you also have the experience of being a summer camp owner and director. And yes, go ahead.
Yes, I do have kind of an interesting combination. I think we each have our own interesting combination of skills, and my skill and experience kind of overlap with positive psychology, summer camp, parenting, all that stuff together is kind of my concoction of where I get all my info and experience.
Yeah. And so one of the questions I'm trying to ask everyone is, how are you right now? We are recording in the last full week of March. So we've had about perhaps 10 days since things were, quote, normal to now. And, how has it been for you and your family in that time? How's it going?
Well, thanks for asking. I'm actually doing really well. I think, before we started officially recording, I think you and I both have the nice privilege of having a lot of online communication and connection with other people. So I have upped that. I've been actually doing more online virtual meetings with different people. Even my own office team, where we normally would be going to the office together, and not having formal meetings every day, we've started having formal meetings every morning online because since we're not just running into each other in the office. So I'm actually feeling very connected with like my people, like my work team and my family, just because of all these amazing technology things that we have. I'm here at home with 3 of my 5 kids are home and my husband and our dog. So there's 5 of us here plus the dog. And I do feel for parents with younger kids because my situation is pretty easy in terms of managing the kids because my kids are older and they're all very self-sufficient with their school.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for someone like me, it's a lot easier managing kind of working from home and then my kids being home only because they're older and are managing their own schoolwork and I don't have to be involved with that at all. So
Yeah.
I think that makes a big difference. If this was 15 years ago and I was trying to like do my job and have my kids at home, it wouldn't work. And I feel for people like trying to keep
Yeah.
up with whatever their normal tasks are in this. And it's hard.
Yeah, agreed. And so one of the things we did talk about just before we hit record was how the ability to already have kind of a leg up virtually has made me, you're saying it's helping you feel positive. And I would say it's having the exact effect on me. I was actually talking to my therapist. So I've been in therapy since my hands with my tendon disorder, since my hands kind of went offline. So we're now talking 5.5, almost 6 years I've been with this therapist. And today he was asking me, how is your mental kind of state? And outside of some worries that I do have that I think, a lot or most people have, about just the random unknowns, in this situation, I said, I'm holding up really well. And I think one of the reasons is because I get to keep talking to people like you, Audrey, and who are so knowledgeable and so positive. And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring you watching and listening this virtual summit, because if we've got this, we need to share it, and so just an update for us. My son and my youngest and I were visiting in Colorado when like 10 days ago, or actually now this was 2+ weeks ago, when things were still quite normal, like normal enough that we got on the plane, we got out there, everything was fine. And then sort of the Monday after we arrived, everything started going offline. So I think the first thing that I remember happening was that the World Cup of skiing was canceled. And we were like, what? Because we're out in Colorado to ski. I mean, skiing is kind of what my family, it's one of the ways that we bond. It's one of the ways that we get our exercise. It's just a thing that makes us feel so good. So the World Ski Championships are now, oh my God. And then the NBA, and then the NHL, and then all those other kinds of things in schools. And it was also surreal. And then Jay and I got sick. And then, so that was even more surreal because what was it? It turns out it was probably influenza. So not coronavirus, but we were in a coronavirus hotspot. And so when we got off the plane in Boston, we found out that we needed to self-quarantine. So we are still in self-quarantine. We are fine. And I think as this week has unfolded, this week, where I'm interviewing people like you and Tim Leahy, the infectious diseases doctor, did his. I'm going to link to that in this virtual summit. I have been in touch with Tim. And I asked, was there any way that he could possibly come and be a part of the summit? And he basically said, I would love to, but I can't. And I totally respect that. Tim and Jess Leahy, thank you so much for all that you are doing. So the reason I bring that up is because Jessica Leahy, also a guest on We Turned Out Okay. She's written the book called The Gift of Failure. And her husband happens to be an infectious diseases doctor. And so they did this. Audrey, did you watch it as well?
Yes. Amazing. Yes. Love that they've offered that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that helped me really understand why we are doing what we're doing. So I wonder, Audrey, maybe, one thing we could talk about is, what is your understanding of why we are all stuck in our homes? I feel like the more we hear about this, maybe the more it'll sink in, the better our viewers and listeners will be at doing it.
I feel like this is our opportunity to step up and be community-minded people in a very individualistic culture. So we are, here in America, we all love kind of doing our own thing, being independent, living our own lives, and not being told what to do. I mean, most of us do not really appreciate being given rules and restrictions and structure. And I think this is the case where we need to all work together as a community, and our individual actions, when combined with everybody else's actions, really is the only way that we can slow down the spread of this virus and potentially save lives because of the more access to the medical facilities and medical personnel when they're needed. So to me, this is our opportunity, even if, for those of us who aren't healthcare providers like me, I can do my little part by staying home and not interacting with other people. And all the videos that I've seen that show the dots, like I've seen a couple different renditions of this.
These sort of expanding dots. Yeah.
The difference between, so one person staying home, that's fewer interactions. If I make my whole family stay home, which we are doing, and they're not bouncing out and going and getting involved with some other dots, it's like that really resonates with me, is when you watch the graph, if everyone was just freely going everywhere, that's a lot of interaction. And then it's the exponential thing. You just watch it explode because it's so highly contagious.
Yep.
And the more of us who stay home, and those of us who can stay home should. So if we're not essential people, and sorry, but I know I'm not an essential person to be out in the world. I'm not a medical provider, and I'm not like a first responder, firefighter, whatever. So I feel like I want to be a good member of the community, and it's important that we all do that and not just say, oh, well, I'm not old, or, whatever the reasons people give. Also, I talked this morning with a friend in Spain, and her husband just got home from the hospital. He's in his 40s, very healthy guy, had a terrible case of corona. Like he said, he felt like his body was poisoned.
Oh, wow.
He needed oxygen.
Wow.
So I think we need to the sort of kind of story that we're all telling ourselves is really, we're just doing this to protect like our parents, which is true too, older people, but this is for everybody. It can hit you and I, it could
Yep.
hit in a bad way. So I'm listening to the doctors, and I'm not going to live in fear or be constantly in a state of panic about it, but I'm going to do my part. And, my 16-year-old son, who every day his low of the day is, I miss my friends.
Yeah.
I'm going to empathize with him and continue to say, no, you cannot go see your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. As
They
hard as
can't
this
go with him.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in a way, I would have probably handled this very differently had we not been self-quarantined, because when we got home, I was feeling very reckless. I was like, I'm gonna see everybody. Like, and I was feeling critical of, the messages I was getting that were saying, you really need to do this sort of, this is important. And I was really resistant to that, but we had to go right into quarantine. And like our college age son can't be with us, because if I had even seen him for 1 minute and given him one hug, he would have also been stuck in quarantine with us. So he's not. And that's really hard. I mean, of all the things that have been hard, that's the hardest, is my child is not with me, but we were in communication today. I actually I made chicken parmesan today for lunch. So we're doing lunch as like the big meal. And that's been very, very fun. And he actually bought us the food to do it, because he can go to the grocery store, because he's not in quarantine. And so we stood in the garage, like the garage is our airlock. So we stood, 20 feet apart in the garage and kind of talked and mentally hugged. And then I made this chicken parmesan today, and I took him, I took and froze a bunch of it. I was like, this is for you. And, when we can see each other again, when you can have this again. And it is hard. And I do talk with my 15-year-old about that as well. And the hardest thing for him is not seeing his friends. And I think now that we are under this order, it's easier. It's become easier to sort of integrate into this and really get a thorough understanding of like, for example, Dr. Leahy talks about how you got to think about all your germs meeting up with all of somebody else's germs. And while we are probably not going to completely eliminate, like they were getting questions like, should we disinfect all our groceries and stuff like that? And his point was, there is risk in everything. And what we're doing here is we're mitigating our risk by trying to have as few, true contacts as possible. You don't worry about getting groceries. And the other thing he said that I actually found very comforting is we're probably all going to get this at some point. But the longer we stretch it out, the less stressed our healthcare system will be, the sort of the better off that we will be. So that's made it, I've been like, okay, this is what it is now. And now I feel very 100% invested in, after the quarantine, still doing the right things. Not that I think that's going to be necessarily easy to do. And for our viewers and listeners, I think, like you were saying before, Audrey, it's even harder, because many of you watching and listening have little kids. The people that I've been hearing from are saying, how do we get through these weeks and months? This seems impossible. And so, we've been talking a lot about how to do that. And Audrey, I'm wondering if you have thoughts, and also, like, what kinds of questions have you been getting from the people that you serve?
I think all of us have moved into this stage of, okay, so we have no idea what's going to be happening in a couple weeks or a month, or how long this is going to last. So it sort of doesn't serve us well to spend a lot of time worrying about the future right now. Honestly, like, I think that's part of this is one of those times where we have very little control about what's going to be going on with, schools and work and all these things, finances. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of uncertainty, which none of us enjoys. So I'm finding really that most of the people I'm talking to are parents who are just trying to get through the day. Like, we're all just sort of like, trying to get a little humor out of some of the crazy, homeschool fails and different things like that. So I think that we're all in it. One thing that's comforting, and one thing you mentioned, it reminded me, is that we're all in the same situation now. There was kind of a time where things were going up and down, and some things were being canceled and some things were not, and we were unsure what we were supposed to be doing. I was actually, right before everything really got crazy, I was actually at a conference that was
Oh,
not
Wow.
And by the end of it, I was a little bit freaked out. I was like, okay, I'm across the country from my family. And I remember even when I left for it, I was like, should I go? I mean, it's still going on. People are going. Should I go or not? And I remember my thought was, I could be stuck wherever I am. I could get, so I was, traveled home on March 12th, and I was so happy to be home, Karen. I was just like, I made it home. So then at that point, I was just appreciative to be home. And I really, I'm like, you know what, you can stick me inside and keep me inside, but I wanted to be home when
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in a hotel in a random city where I had no family,
Yeah.
So I think most people that I've talked to, it's just like, okay, so what should I do today? And what's something what's something fun we can do as a family? What I've been trying to encourage people, but I've been doing myself a couple things. One is, after the initial just like shock and all that time I was spending online, just looking at all the news and constantly like, oh my gosh, and which kid's school is, where do I pick up my kids and when? And there was a lot of upheaval for a while.
Yeah.
But now that we're all kind of settled into the sheltering now, I think it's kind of important for us to shift ourselves into as much normalcy as we can create given the new circumstances. So for me, that meant re-upping my normal morning routine. So I was not doing things the way I usually did them. And I, this week, kind of have gotten back into starting my day with some quiet time and getting my exercise, however short, and getting a shower and then putting on real clothes. And I know for a lot of people, it's like living in your pajamas is really fun and it's very novel, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to be healthy for us for months or, multiple. I think that's a good thing on the weekends or once in a while to have a pajama day. But for me, something about making my bed, getting ready, even if I'm just going to go work on the kitchen table or where I am now
Yeah.
in a library. So that's one thing that I've found is what I'm telling a lot of people is just whatever for yourself, your own routine, just not even thinking about the kids. What do you need to do for yourself, for your well-being, to just feel like you're just making a little bit of progress? And
Yeah.
I've been very distracted. I've not been able to do much writing or like kind of deep work type things just because, like my mind wanders a lot. I'll be reading something and have to reread it 5 times.
Yes, I totally
I
get
don't know.
that.
So, I mean, it's like, there's some things that are not, I mean, as expected or are not going to be the same as usual. However, I'm finding that still keeping up with some of my work projects and meeting with people, is helping me. I don't want to just sit around and not do any of my normal stuff because that's not good for me. So I think as individuals, we need to, as much as possible, do some things that we normally do.
Yes. Oh, I 100% agree. It's funny we were homeschooled for 12 years and I mean, we're still technically homeschoolers, but we're not, of course, with a teenager, we're not doing it the same way anymore. But those first, I don't know, 7, 8 years it was all about the pajamas. My mother used to call it perpetual Saturday morning, what we would do. And, but the thing is, we found a routine that worked. And one of the things I discovered, that is the biggest, most awesome cup of coffee ever.
This is actually, I've switched to tea because one of my problems is too much coffee. So I'm like,
that's just such a great mug. I love it. Like what I found was that the pajamas had to be special somehow. And if they weren't special, then I felt like I'd just been a slouchy slob in my pajamas all day. And for me, what that resolved into was, what's my bra? What bra am I wearing? So like I could be wearing, normal clothes, but if I have a sleeping bra underneath, it felt like relax. This is rest time. So that's kind of how the kids always loved their pajamas. But for me,
oh yeah, I love pajamas and comfy clothes. I've seen so many funny memes about how 8 p.m. is the time you change from your daytime pajamas to your nighttime pajamas. So
yeah.
maybe if you are living in pajamas, you have some kind of ceremonial switch into your daytime pajamas in the morning,
Yeah.
signaling to yourself that these are my daytime. I do things in these pajamas, whereas the nighttime pajamas are the ones you rest in. I don't know.
Exactly. But so today I do have a good bra on. I've got, a lifting and separating kind of bra, but I'm actually wearing like what I would wear skiing because this sparks joy for me. It makes me so happy to think about my ski clothes. And if I can't ski, I'm doing, one of my all-time favorite things to do, which is to talk to amazing people like you. And I'm doing it in my work clothes. You know what I mean? And then later tonight, I will probably, well, maybe around dinner time, I'll change into the sleeping bra, and that will make me feel like, okay, now it's rest time. And then like 8 o'clock tonight, I'll put on actual pajamas.
Oh yeah. I
And
love
then
getting my pajamas on early with my robe. I have a really soft robe. I completely, pretty much right after dinner is when I switch into like total comfy clothes, but I'm just wearing my favorite soft, really soft t-shirts,
yeah,
really
yeah.
white. I just am wearing comfortable,
It's a part of taking care of ourselves, isn't
yeah.
it? You know?
Definitely. Definitely.
And I love that. I mean, giving yourself a break, but also trying to, and recognizing, I think this is also part of giving yourself a break, that what you were just saying about, in fact, I'd love it if you talk a little more about, um, not being able to, like, having to reread the same paragraph 5 times. Like, how are you handling that? Like, what are you telling yourself about that? You know what I mean? Is my question.
Yeah. Great question. I am trying to treat myself the way I want others to treat me, which is giving myself some grace in these moments. Like, it is what it is, and I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I think any movement forward is really great right now. So the fact that I'm reading a book, so I just kind of give
Yeah.
myself it's like positive self-talk, like, I'm a little distracted, but at least I'm reading and I stopped scrolling, just
Yeah.
kind of, I think that part of it is just the way we talk to ourselves. And, often we're so awful to ourselves the way we talk. And so I think I've just been trying to be nice to myself in the way I self-talk when I am finding myself distracted, or I get to the end of the day and my little tasks that I had on my list didn't quite get done. I'm just, the things that I thought I was going to do. And then I look back and I'm like, you know what though? My son came in and chatted with me 3 different times today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I stopped what I was doing and chatted. And,
Yeah.
there's some gifts in this time of kind of all of us being here and slowing down a little bit. I think there's some lessons that we can all learn. I wanted to show you this because I also have been doing some other self-care things. Like I have a little candle on my desk
Oh,
that
wonderful.
smells really good. I think those little things, I'm finding just the little touches, like having my cup of tea and the candle burning, just those little things that just make you feel just a little, I don't know. It's just, I think we don't have to sit in the dark and feel
Brett.
worried and depressed. I think
Yeah.
we can sort of create this a little more positive, like surroundings as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that the camp spirit sort of is pervasive in your home life?
Definitely. And especially in these weeks, because my camp, obviously we're an outdoor camp during the summer. So normally this time of the year, we're having a few little parties and events, but for the most part, we're not having a whole lot of connection time with our families. Well, that has changed a lot. We started last week. We've been doing a lot of virtual campfires with our camp families.
So
And
fun.
it's been, especially for the younger kids who are not, they're not connected. They don't have, like the older kids, a lot of them have lots of ways to stay connected with their friends, with
Mhm.
media and stuff. But the younger kids who don't have phones and all that, they do not. School and going to school and their activities were their way of connecting with other kids. So we're having a lot of little kids, especially join in some virtual campfires where we have counselors leading little discussions, sharing highs and lows, sharing hobbies or new things they're going to try. I mean, it's just been really sweet for us as a community, and lots of camps are doing this. I've talked to many camp directors. I think summer camps, this is what we do. We are community people. We're connecting people. We're friendship people. I know you have a lot of camp experience. And so schools are all scrambling and struggling to try to, whatever, convert to online or remote learning. And, there's a lot, we cannot expect schools to also be constantly thinking about how these kids need more than academics right now.
Mm.
They need friends, they need connection, they need some positive, they need to laugh. They need
Yeah.
to, so we're doing just what we do at camp. We have a morning assembly at camp that is basically 20 minutes where we get together every day and we have a joke of the day and a song and just silly stuff, games and things. And we've been doing those 3 days a week. and we've been putting them online. And then, and some people, we sometimes have guests who join in, and it has been just a silly thing that I totally look forward to, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4, I'm just like, okay, I'm ready for assembly. And it's just, and all these, and you feel like this camaraderie because there's many of us all gathered there together at the same time. And it's just silly stuff, but boy, is it a nice break from, watching the news and
Yeah, checking out those dots.
yeah, exactly. So I think, and I will say that our community has been very positive and very receptive to us providing that during this time. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to solve an illness because we're camp people,
Yeah.
but we can do what we can do, which is this stuff, just like you're doing, like by doing this OkayCon, like you're doing what you can do during this time. And
Yeah.
that's what I think, if each of us is able to use the gifts and strengths that we've been given or we've nurtured, if we can use these in a way to serve others and help others, that will be healing to all of us, because sitting around feeling helpless and uncertain and worried it's not good for us. And it's certainly not good for our kids as they watch us. We want our kids to see what resilience and reality look like. So yes, we're scared and worried, and here's some things we're trying to do to get through it.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, so much of what you say is just resonating so deeply with me. And camp is like, to be able to get into that camp spirit 3 times a week, sounds so amazing to me. And that you characterize it in this way of, we are all helping each other. Like, so you described being across the country and being at a conference and Jay and I were across the country, and we were wondering when is the last flight out of here, and how do we make sure that we're on that flight, and what if we are not on it? I mean, I had not to get to, I will not describe this, but I had some digestive symptoms that I don't usually have. And you hear it described how like someone's insides turned to liquid. And I feel like the 48 hours or so before we left, that was what was happening to me, because I was so anxious and so worried. And in that time, I was listening to a podcaster who was saying, go out and lead, like do something for the people who are looking to you. And I was like, oh my God, I totally need to do that. And so I started doing that. And what I found was that it helped me so much, like, to be a helper. And all I could think about was Fred Rogers' statement that when he was a little boy and he would see something frightening on the news, his mom would say, look for the helpers. You'll always see find people who are helping. And I first heard that during after the Boston Marathon bombing in 2000 and whatever.
I was there.
You were there.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, Audrey. So we almost connected, because I live just outside of Boston. We almost connected. Maybe it was a few years later, because you came because your husband runs the marathon. I had no idea that you were there for
that year. I wasn't running, but my husband was. And he had finished already when the bombing occurred, but our friend was still out. Yeah. So I was there during that time, but I love Fred Rogers, and I that really resonates with me. And again, I feel like we have a choice of what we're going to focus on, and we can focus on all the bad news, or we can be responsible and follow guidelines and look for ways that we can contribute and help. And I think it's really, really vital right now. I wanted to share one other thing. Just, it's interesting. Like, I feel like there's some really good stuff happening, because in my book club for happy campers, we're following, each month has a topic that we're talking about. And March was Kids Thrive with Structure.
Oh my goodness, how wonderful.
And so it's really interesting, because I have been talking a lot to people about how now the structure is not going to be the same, and there's no way you can recreate that rigid school kind of schedule. However, you can have like a checklist of these 5 things that everyone does every day, making your bed, getting some exercise, reading, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it's funny that happened. And then April is kindness making it cool to be kind. It's
Oh,
secret number 8. And I'm just like, I feel privileged that now I'm actually, what I'm thinking about and working on and what I'm focusing on is providing families with ideas for ways they can do acts of kindness from home.
oh my gosh, I love that.
And so it's like I feel so blessed that I can, okay, I mean, it's, it's just a
It's like
little
good
tiny,
timing.
it's just like a little notch in like big picture things. But I'm like, okay, so I'm here at home. I can do this still. I can share some
Yeah.
ideas for people that, are at home with their kids any age. I can share a few things for
Um,
them. And
how is the can you tell me more about this book club? Is there a way for me, for viewers, for
oh yeah.
listeners to join it? Like what does tell me all about this?
Well, I didn't really organize it that well. It's just, there are a couple things. One is, it's just like you can sign up on my website. You go to the book page, and I think there's a little sign up for the book club, and you get just access to like some more downloads and resources. And then I have a Facebook group, and there's like about 125 of us in there. And so, groups. I know you have a group. It's just a little bit more intimate where people can
Yeah.
share things. And so I have been over the summer, I actually did one secret a week, and I recorded these campfire discussions with some of the parents who were at camp about each secret. So I'm re-releasing those each. And then during the school year, I've been doing it one secret per month. So we started in
Oh,
September and it ends in May. So it actually works out where the summer then is
so
off.
perfectly.
So but I mean, people can join at any time, but basically I'm focusing on one topic each month. And then any resources that I find from outside sources, I'm also sharing in there. So it's
Yeah.
not just about the book. It's like, if I'm talking about structure, I'm also bringing in other things that I've seen out there. So it's just kind of a resource hub for the topics in the book is basically what it's like. And then sometimes I'll ask a question, and then we do a monthly private Zoom chat for whoever's interested, just talking about that month. And if you've tried any of the bringing camp home techniques at the back of the
Lovely.
chapters.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you're welcome to join. I know you have a lot going on too, but it's I'm having fun with it, and I'm just going to keep it ongoing, because anyone who happens to be reading the book, if they want some more resources, they're all kind of there.
And is it audreymonke.com or sunshineparenting.com, which
Um,
is Audrey's podcast, by the way?
Yeah. So the name of the group, well, I would just go to Sunshine Parenting,
Okay.
my Facebook page, or my website, which is sunshine-parenting.com, because there's links to everything on my website. But
That's what I
the
will look
group
for.
itself it's a group in Facebook called Happy Campers Book, is like the name of the group. You know what I mean? But it's like a private group, so you have to ask to
I'm
join.
joining this afternoon.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
What a wonderful resource. Oh my goodness. This is so awesome. Happy Campers Group. Okay, I'm taking some
It's
notes.
Happy Campers Book.
Happy
Like,
Campers Book. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
like you go to facebook.com
Yep.
/groups/Happy Campers Book.
Happy Campers Book. Excellent. All right. Before we wrap up, which our time is getting kind of short, I'm excited because we got a question in the We Turned Out Okay Facebook group. So also the other thing that's kind of neat about the We Turned Out Okay Facebook group is that's where I'm going to be hosting watch parties while this summit is going on. So Audrey's post will, or this Zoom call will be posted in the We Turned Out Okay Facebook group and on the website. And at 8:00 that evening, we are going to have a watch party, and Audrey has agreed to be there, and I'm super happy about that. If you are listening to this, well, no, if you're watching this, I guess I'll say, sign up for my weekly newsletters, which is weturnedoutokay.com/weekly, because what that will do is get you notifications of when the watch parties are, who's going to be on what day. So if you're listening to this or watching this, jump into that. Okay, so Rosa asks, it might be because we are confined in the house, so we see more of the traits we don't like in our children. My 4-year-old twins have started to laugh when we tell them not to do certain things like hit each other over Lego. And then they laugh, which makes my husband more furious, but not me. However, I'm not sure how to address that. Is this common? How do I ensure they understood what we outlined as guidance that needs to be adhered to?
Great question. Well,
Great
you're more
question.
of the early childhood person, but what I would say if it was my kids, I think we have to remember that this is all of us are going through different things, and our kids, their behavior is generally not about the behavior itself. It's, they're feeling from us, probably the uncertainty. And so we're going to see probably an increase in behaviors that we don't like maybe in our kids. And I think part of what we have to figure out is, if no one's getting hurt, perhaps this can be the time when you sort of ignore some of the things, unless there's a power differential or you really need to step in. I was always, even when I wasn't in a time like this, when my kids were little, unless it was kind of egregious, I would just, hey, instead of that, do this next time, gentle
Yeah.
reminders. I feel like we're going to be, as parents, a little more on edge, and there's a big risk that we're going to overreact to our kids right now. So I would suggest doing the calm down strategies that we all have figured out, just pausing for a moment before we respond to their behavior, only because how bad is it? And does it need to be addressed right now? Or could it be a conversation later? Like, hey, I noticed, you were laughing when I was discussing this. And just, that made me feel kind of bad because I was talking about something serious. Or I think not in the moment when you're feeling upset.
Or when
And
they're, hitting each other or whatever. Yep.
right. It's just, I think it's pausing. It's encouraging them to pause. It's, hey guys, this isn't working. Let's figure out something else. It's trying to be the voice of calm
Yeah.
amidst their chaos. I think they're looking to us to lead them and to show them how to be calm. And it's hard right now because we're not feeling like we might have a lot of internal distraction and chaos, but our kids really need us to show them the way. And I think a lot of that is just in being calm. So I would also not think that something is going wrong in your parenting with, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
these weeks are not the time to judge your entire parental picture.
Yeah.
This could be probably for many people the low point of both their kids' behavior and their own. And that's okay. We'll come out the other side and hopefully years later be able to laugh with our kids like, oh, remember that time when we were stuck inside?
Yeah.
So I just think be gentle with ourselves and with our kids right now. I don't know if that's any
I
help.
love that. Yeah. And
That was kind of
I would add, I think those are such good things to keep in mind, Audrey. And I would add, so a couple things. One that comes to mind is Janine Halloran, the licensed mental health counselor and just amazing woman. She's got a website called copingskillsforkids.com. And she, if you're watching, was yesterday's summit guest. And she talks about being the thermostat rather than the thermometer. And so the idea being what we want to do is stay at a cool, steady 68 degrees, even if our children's thermometer or temperature is fluctuating up and down. Like, so trying to take some deep breaths, trying to step out, step away. So if your husband is furious, Rosa, helping him understand that he can walk away and settle down and then come back and we can talk about it again. And then the other thing is, and I know this is super quick because we're wrapping up, but just to try and think about and I know you do this already, but trying to remember that positive discipline often doesn't look like discipline. It's not sitting a child down and lecturing them or meting out a huge punishment for something. It's basically saying, okay, we're going to be done with Legos. If that's how you're going to act with the Legos, then we can't play with the Legos right now. Let's move on to something else. And sort of lightly going towards what you want and away from what you don't want. So, and Audrey, you are smiling and nodding. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I love that. I've heard that thermometer thing before, but don't you see, like, when you're not in a good mood, your kids just feel it, and boy, it just is not good for the kids. I also, when you were talking about Rose and her husband, I was thinking about at camp how we really tell the counselors to look out for each other and tag each other out as needed. So if you see your partner like getting stressed or starting to just sort of need, like, you can tell they need a break, just to have a signal or a gentle way of saying, hey honey, you know what, I'll talk to the kids. Do you want to go outside for a minute? Or if you'd like a little break, I'm happy to handle this. Just to be kind to each other too, and be supportive in that way, and kind of tag each other out, because we're all going to need breaks during this time.
Yeah. And thinking about, this will pass, and there can be a family hug today, a little later today. We can always try again tomorrow is something that we talk about a lot. I mean, forgiving ourselves and knowing that this will pass and that it's all okay. It really, really is.
We all turned out okay, right, Karen?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So Rosa, thank you so much for your question. I really hope that helps. And Audrey, our time is very, very short. I do want to just say thank you so much for being here and for being such a light in this time. It really means a lot that you're here with us.
Thank you, Karen. I love talking to you. I feel better already today just having talked to you.
Cool. Me too. The feeling is mutual. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. It means so much to Audrey and me that we have you here. You can find her at sunshine-parenting.com. Finally, I have one quick thank you to our producer, the man who does adopt a camp attitude. One of his favorite things to do when we're going to be done with quarantine is we're going to have a bonfire. We're going to have a campfire and we're going to invite some neighbors and we're all going to keep our distance, but we're going to be together in that way. So he is the 22-time winner of the Husband of the Year Award. He's the voice at the top of our show. He's our producer. And I'm so grateful for you, Benjamin Kolp. And again, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.